remember really feeling this wrestling in my heart. So for 5 years, I had done both. I had one foot in corporate America and I had one foot in this angels stuff. And I just felt this wrestling, this job where I had kind of climbed the proverbial corporate ladder and thought I was going to spend my entire life there. I realized that I was being called to do something different. But gosh, I was scared. And I had very little faith that I was capable of actually being able to do it. And I remember laying in bed at night and like tears so loud rolling out of my eyes and hitting the pillow next to me and just having this conversation with God and being like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And he's like, I'm telling you what to do. You're not listening. And I remember going to church on Sunday, really feeling the weight and the gravity of knowing that we had this program that was impactful, yet not being able to focus on it because of this career. And I went to church and I was sitting, and it was a sermon. The preacher had given a sermon about when Jesus walked on water and when Peter walked on water. And the sermon went something like this, that Jesus walks out on water and his disciples are in the boat, and he tells, or Peter says, who are you? He's scared. He thinks it's a ghost. And Jesus says, it is I. And he says, well, if it is you, then tell me to come to you. And in one word, Jesus says, come. And so Peter gets out of the boat and he too is walking on water until he takes his eyes off of Jesus and looks at the waves, and he gets scared and he begins to sink. And Jesus says, you have very little faith, and catches him. And the preacher says at that moment, now, what is Jesus calling you out of the boat to do? But maybe you're too afraid to do it. And maybe if you would just keep your eyes on him, that you too could walk on water. And I remember walking out that Sunday and looking at my husband and saying, I think I'm going to quit my job. You know, that real good job where I make good money and have health insurance and retirement. What would it be like if I just didn't have that? Well, I'm lucky because my husband's a man of faith and said, hey, listen, if God's calling you to this, I'm not standing in the way of it, and we'll figure it out. And so we did. So I left this job that I had worked at for 8 years, who had given my whole kind of life to, and had made the decision to quit. And in 2015, in January of 2015, that's when everything changed for our organization.